Hello and welcome to BFS Wargaming. So we're here to talk about 9th edition, a little Warhammer chatter. So we're going to talk about what our views are on what we know so far about 9th edition and what we're excited about, what we've got concerns about, those sorts of things. So this is going off of the stream that happened on Tuesday. There was some answers to questions that were put out there about what we could be seeing in 9th edition. It was vague, so there's still a lot of that's up in the air. But we'll start off with what the question one was, which is what can fans of Horde armies look forward to in this edition? It says there's lots of things to help assault and Horde armies. Terrain will be more meaningful, terrain will block line of sight, and a lot more. No longer able to shoot through 3 windows in a post box and clip the wing of a Carnifex. Now, I don't know if that means that obviously terrain's going to be more line of sight blocking. They go on to say about the terrain. The terrain rules are basically more in depth, which is really, really good. Definitely needs it. Shooting armies were definitely the winners in 8th edition. And there's a lot there to look into, because without them specifying about what that comment is, basically is, can you clip the wing of a Carnifex if it's not through line of sight? So if it's not through terrain, what I'm trying to say is the target in the model going to be you have to see more of the model, or is it just because you're shooting through terrain? So I think it might just be the terrain. I think to make things easy and simple, if you can see the model, it's always been really, really simple, any part of the model, but that may well be changing. It says there is changes also to Overwatch and Falling Back. There's a new core stratagem that gives melee armies a boost to make it worth going across the board. So obviously core stratagem means that it's available to everyone. I'm assuming this is about Falling Back. But it says that the core turn mechanics won't be changing. Still the game we know and love from 8th edition. It just means that they're basically just trying to perfect it, which is exactly what I wanted. I'm really excited about it. So we'll move on to how strategic reserves work. So you spend CP to put things into reserve, wanted to build upon the idea that as a commander your CP is used on the kind of things that a general would do in addition to that a unit would do. CP will be an asset that can be used. As the game progresses, the units come in from reserve, including flanking in later turns. Now it says flanking in later turns. Is that past turn 3? Can you now deep strike or flank later than turn 3? It's very, very interesting. Also, you can pay CP, it seems, to put anything in reserve, but does stuff like that already has that built in their data sheet to be able to go into deep strike, can they still go into deep strike? So these are all questions we don't know yet, but it does sound like it's going to be quite game changing. It could be a big boost for melee armies as well. Well, it says it'd be a boost to melee and mid-range shooting, which is really, really good, because I did find with playing Necrons that the mid-range of like the warriors just wasn't good. It really struggled. Can you talk a little bit more about how terrain will work? So terrain is not just there to block line of sight, it's there to be more fun and provide more ways to interact with it. Terrain will have a really fun impact with the battlefield becoming a third player in essence. Trying to do it in a way that doesn't just layer on extra complexity and rules. Clean, simple to understand. Hopefully. I've always found with GW, they try and make it clean and simple, but then they may miss things that then become messy. But hopefully they've got it right. So most obvious example is giving terrain obscuring tag that blocks line of sight, regardless of whether you can see through it. Different degree of cover. Can you go up it? Can you go through it? Etc. So there's going to be whole new rules on what is a ruin, what is a building, a bunker. You know, there's like they say here, gameplay and narrative differences. If you've built a jungle themed board, then it will feel different than an ice world, which is really, really cool. I mean, I'm not sure if that will really have any effect in competitive play, because I don't think they probably will do that. But in terms of just having those rules available is just awesome. I mean, you could bring them into battle reports. I'd love that. It'd be really, really cool. So also I'll read this bit because this is really cool. More tools to be able to interact with terrain in a different way. Example, frustration. Carnifex can't reach models on second level. That has been fixed, removing slightly weird, slightly gamey considerations. Improved the kind of gameplay experience, and also improved immersion so that models are where they are without being too abstract. This is brilliant because I could never understand, like, a knight goes up to a building and because someone's not on the ground floor, they can't touch them. Or Mortarion. I mean, I think the Knights had a stratagem for it, but say Mortarion or Magnus, these huge models and they just can't touch them. Doesn't make sense. So I'm really, really glad they've changed that. Someone's asked, what does the new edition do to help Tyranids? I think it says anything that tanks can do, monsters can do just as well. So we'll get on to that. The fact that tanks now shoot in combat. I mean, this is huge, and it sounds like monsters shoot in combat too. So monsters would be Tau Riptides, Exocrines, Tyrannifexes. Obviously, you've got Imperial Guard with all their tanks that are now going to be able to shoot in combat. This is massive, absolutely massive, and a little bit scary, if I'm honest. As someone that plays a melee army, a couple of melee armies, I'm a little bit worried about how that will work, but I'm sure that they've play tested it and come up with some cool rules. And I do understand as well, if you look at a grot tying up a Lehman Russ tank's just a bit ridiculous. But maybe then I'm not sure how it will work. Will it just be infantry that can't tie up tanks and that they can still shoot when they're in contact with infantry? But say if Mortarion ties up your tank, are you still going to be able to shoot? So that would be really interesting. Or a Carnifex ties up your tank, will you still be able to shoot? So it'd be interesting if that's keyword dependent. So there's stuff about amounts of shots of weapons. You've now got these blast weapons which are going to be better against horde armies or hordes, and they haven't specified what counts as a horde. They haven't specified what counts as a blast weapon. They haven't even really specified how that blast weapon works, whether the wounds carry over. I don't know, because it seems strange. Someone said about they get the most amount of shots, their maximum amount of shots, but then something like a lascannon only has one shot anyway. Is it they'll get the maximum amount of damage and that will carry over? I don't know. We will have to see. But again, I do like it. It stops everyone taking that strength 6 -2 2 damage weapon. The middle of the road, because it's the most effective. And people will still take that and it still will be effective, but now that becomes the heavier weapons are a good choice again. Someone's asked, can all the chapters use the new toys? Yes, you can, basically. Long story short, old Space Marines are still okay to use, which is obviously very cool and good. It says, what other major players may return this edition? And they answer, really big and exciting ones. So I think we're probably going to see other Primarch level characters. And I say Primarch level because obviously you've got Primarchs. Silent King is a Primarch level character. Vect is a Primarch level character. Kai from the Tau is a Primarch level, or maybe not a Primarch level character, but he's a big character. He's like Shadow Sun and Farsight level. Will the new codexes include Crusade elements? Now, Crusade is this new, I think it's more based around the narrative, which seems really, really cool. I think you could do some really good narrative battle reports for this, which excites me, and some really cool stories. So I'm looking forward to looking through how Crusade works and just forging your narrative, and I think it'll be really, really cool. Really forward to that. So next up is CP. So in this, the way CP works now is if you've got, it doesn't matter how you build your army, you're going to get the same CP. It depends on how many points you're playing. So say if you're playing 2,000 points, you'll get a set amount of CP. Say it's 20 CP. And your opponent will get 20 CP. Doesn't matter what armies you play or anything. I really, really like this. Some people have complained, but I do think, you know, like Imperial Guard need the CP to fuel them and that sort of thing. But with Psychic Awakening, they've got a lot of new tricks, a lot of new toys. With the fact that they can shoot in combat, all of these things reduces their need for CP, I feel. There's also still ways to regenerate CP. And I feel I like what they've done about the soup. You can pay CP to requisition assets. So you can pay CP to bring a knight in and use it. And I think that's really cool. I love it. I love that there's a benefit because you're getting a knight. You know, and a knight can be very, very destructive. But you are going to lose CP to do it. Doesn't say how much, but I really, really like that. I think it's very, very cool. And now you can sort of build your army how you want to build it. Like, if you don't want troops, you don't have to have troops to get that battalion to get the CP. However, you will need troops probably to hold objectives, you know, for that objective secured and all that sort of thing. But it depends how important you think that is. But yeah, I think it's really, really cool. You can build the army how you want to build it. It still will have the normal detachment restrictions, but I do really like that. And it says, what have you done to address the dominance of Eldar flyers in the game? Well, they said modifiers are now capped, never better than +1 or -1. Now, I'm gathering this is shooting modifiers, or to hit modifiers, because otherwise that would get... I mean, it might be to wound modifiers as well. I don't know. We'd have to look into that, because is AP a modifier? Because that can't be capped at +1 or -1. -1. Because that would be weird. I'm not sure AP is a modifier. I think it's just a stat. It's just what that does. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe all modifiers are capped at +1 or -1. I'll have to look into that. I think it might be to hit though. We'll find out. I do really like that though. It stops this stupidity of -3 and -4 Lord Discordance, and I like the fact that they're limiting in that, and we'll see how that plays out. It might turn out badly, but I think it will play out well. And then they've got, has there any changes to the morale phase? The morale phase has been updated and improved, introduced combat attrition, more things that interact with morale than in the past, no longer binary, cool things like Night Lords and Reavers can do scary things. This is really cool because I do feel like Night Lords and in some cases Harlequins and Drukhari have all got those things that can affect your leadership and your morale, and it's just not really a thing because there's so much stuff where you can just ignore morale it never really seemed like a thing. So I'm hoping that does have more of a part to play, which will be cool. And it says about Legends, and they say, yeah, we will add data sheets to Legends here and there, which I think we all expected. Let's talk about army sizes. So you've got Combat, Patrol, Onslaught, Strike Force, and Incursion. So they will be the different sizes of forces to how much CP you're going to get. Power level is still a thing, and they are going to change it like they do points when appropriate. Even in defeat, you still get stuff like requisition points. So this is to do with the Crusade, which is cool. Mortal wounds work in the same way, which is good. And it says, will soup be viable? We talked about that, about the CP, the requisition assets, which I really, really like. I think that's very cool. It says, will future codexes need older books to function? Basically, they said that you can still use Psychic Awakening, you can still use Vigilus books, you can still use your current codex. I should imagine once the new 9th edition codexes come out, they will supersede all of those. It says, will players need to include troops? You will need to in the same way you do now. There's just lots more flexibility, which is cool. And depends on what detachments you use. So if you're having a battalion detachment, then you're going to have to take 3 troops. So they're just saying there's loads more freedom to build the army the way you want. It says what defines a blast weapon and what defines a horde. Basically, it will tell you in the back of the book. I mean, this is intercessor chainswords. Basically, I think they're saying they're going to be -1 instead of no AP, which is cool. I like that. I just feel like they've taken 8th edition. They've looked like terrain was a big thing for me. I wanted them to sort out terrain, and they appear to have sorted out, which is really, really cool. That's my probably my favourite thing that they've done. The flyers can now like fly off the board, come back on. They're not going to get blown up, but apparently they don't interact with the board as much, which is cool. They don't interact with like you can't move block with them from what they've said, and I'm hoping they don't stop you deep striking either, because I never understood that. It was a bit weird. You could sort of screen out with flyers and stop deep strike, so hopefully that's gone as well. But yeah, I think all in all, there's some really, really positive changes. It'll be interesting to see how like the tanks being able to shoot in combat. Be interesting to see how the CP works. It'll be interesting to see how the flyers work. And this is just, you know, a vague telling us of what's going on, and I can't wait to delve into those rules, really find out what's going on, and start building lists around them. Because, you know, we're going to have to change our lists to suit the new edition. Plus, we've still got War of the Machine coming out. We've got War of the Spider coming out, or Engine War, I think it's called. War of the Spider and Prior Book. So there is lots more rules to come, plus 9th edition. Loads more data sheets, especially for Necrons. So, yeah, really excited. Let me know what you think of the new 9th edition. What do you think of the rules that you've seen? Are you as excited as me about 9th edition? Because I cannot wait to get my hands on that rulebook and just go through it and see what's changed. And hopefully there's not too many things that I have to send into the FAQ or ask. Usually when you start playing, things arise. But they have said they'll be in the back of the book. There will be a lot of things to say, you know, if this happens, if that happens. A lot more than, like, for instance, in 8th edition. So we will have to wait and see. But I will be making videos and keep talking about 9th edition until it drops. And I'll probably then talk about it again. I hope you enjoyed me waffling on about 9th edition and my hopes and my excitement. And let me know what you think about 9th edition. Let me know what you think about what these said about some of these rules and your interpretation. And I will see you in the next one. Stay lucky. Thanks, guys.